after the crowd dispersed and decided to go home, everybody was going back their own way, and the disciples were awful tired too. So they got in their boat and they decided they were going to go back to Capernaum, where they originally started out from. And they said, "You going to get in, Jesus?" And Jesus said, "Nah, I'm not going to get in." He said, "You know what? See that hill over there? I'm going to go up there somewhere just to be alone for a while, and I just want to talk to my Father up at that hill." And they said, "Okay, we'll catch up with you later then." And they started to row home. Well, that night, it was quite a ways. Well, that night came sooner than what they thought it would, because a terrible storm came up. And I guess it can on the Sea of Galilee, just all of a sudden, boom, without warning. And so the disciples were starting to get rocked around in their boat a little bit, trying to get back to their homes. And it got really, really bad, and they were really wishing that Jesus had come with them, because they had remembered last time he was in the boat with them, and he calmed the storm for them, but he wasn't with them this time. They were frightened. The ship was rocking and rolling, and they put the sails down so the wind wouldn't tip them over sideways, and they were scared to death. And Jesus knew this, even though he was over up in a mountain or a hillside. And he looked down there and saw their struggle way out there. So he thought, "Oh, I better go get them." Or maybe he had it planned, probably had it planned. So he went down there. Oh, the disciples were terrified. And he walked on the shore, and then he walked off the shore and started just walking on the water. Well, the disciples had remembered that in the Old Testament, when the Lord opened up the Red Sea and made a way for all the Israelites to escape to Egypt, when he stopped up the waters of the Jordan River, and they could all cross over with the Ark of the Covenant. But this seemed different to them, because Jesus wasn't there to tell the storm to be quiet. And they had forgotten a lot of their trust in Jesus. It's so easy to lose faith when we're getting blown around and rocked around in a ship like that. Our own kind of a ship. Anyway, so Jesus walked out off the shore and onto the water. The waves and everything were rolling, and the wind was blowing. And Peter looked out of the boat and he said, "Hey fellas, look, something's out there. What is it?" And they're all coming over the side of the boat. "I don't know. It's not a big fish. Oh, it looks like a guy out there." And they said, "Must be the storm's doing something to us. There's somebody's out there." And then they realized when Jesus got closer, he was standing there in the middle of the storm on the water. And he said to Peter, he said, "Peter, come here." And Peter was afraid. He didn't even want to get out of the boat because of the storm. And Jesus said, "Come on, Peter. Do you have enough faith to come to me?" And so Peter got out of the boat, put his leg over, and Jesus said, "Keep your eyes on me, Peter. Keep your eyes, keep your eyes right on me." And so Peter had enough faith to do that, And so he kept his eyes on Jesus. And as long as he kept his eyes on Jesus, he stepped out of the boat and he was able to walk on the water too. But then he heard a big crack of thunder and it scared him, or something did. Something scared him and he took his eyes off of Jesus, and it said he sunk. He began to sink. And then he was yelling from water, "Help me, help me, help me, Jesus, help me." And Jesus put out his hand and helped Peter back up out of the water. Well, now Peter had Jesus' hand, and that made him feel a lot better. And they finished walking to the boat again together. And Jesus said, as long as you kept your eyes on me, you didn't sink. But if you keep your eyes on something other than me, he said, "O ye of little faith, keep your eyes on me." And so when he got back to the boat, and they both climbed in, and it's storming, but as soon as Jesus stepped in the boat, the wind and the waves stopped, the clouds went away, and it was a beautiful starry night again. See how Jesus has command over the wind, the waves, the water, and even over, when he was feeding the 5,000, remember he was putting pieces in different baskets, and he kept passing them out. Oh, this one's empty now. Fill this one up again and stuff. Jesus said he's the bread of life in abundance. He was the water of life for the Samaritan woman. He was that snake on the pole, that snake that took Jesus, became that snake, became sin, buried sin in the ground in the tomb, rose in newness of life. He became that for us. So here we have the snake. He was the snake that turned into a beautiful gift of salvation for us. He became the living water. He became the bread of heaven for these 5,000 people. And he's going to show over and over and over how he's the fulfillment of all of these things. So when he got in the boat, they all went home and lived happily ever after. Not. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.